Hey, what's up guys? Team Hard Life, Captain Albert Zertucci here. Alright, so with the videos that we do on spooling and Avet reels and stuff like that, I wanted to take a few videos and just show you why I pair up certain rod and reels with the Avets, and also to the reasoning behind it all.
Gotta bite. I think I got a lot of stress on my mind. It's a nice day to go. Yeah, I gotta learn. I'ma call up the whole team.
When I first started to use the Avets, at the time I was using 4/0 pin HLWs, which, you know, were pretty big size reels. And so when I saw the Avets over on the first time, you know, I sat there and I was like, wow, I said, that's a very expensive reel. I couldn't justify it in my head at that time as to why am I going to spend $300 on that when I can buy this one for 125, 150 bucks and still get the same kind of deal or better. You know, I'm still thinking size matters with, you know, with fishing reels. And in a way it does, but at that time that was my kind of frame of thought. I was like, oh, that's cute, what's that little reel going to do? Until the gentleman said, hey man, you know what, go pull in that fish. Putting over the drag and started cranking in. I was just like, wow, I was blown away. I was like, okay, now I can kind of see. He goes, now cast it. So I cast it, no backlash, and I was like, wow, I'm still getting the same distance I am with this. And then he started telling me a little bit more about how they're switching straight over to braid and this and that. But that again, this was all part of us just scratching the surface of being able to use braid on these reels for casting and so forth. So on that note, I started paying attention and I started looking into those reels and seeing what the difference was and looking online and, you know, trying to talk with guys that I've, you know, become friends with in the fishing world. And I'm talking guys from the East Coast, the Gulf Coast, and even on the West Coast, and some guys overseas. You know, just picking their brains as to how long they had the reels, what they've been doing with them, how they're working out. And also too, you know, I fished the East Coast as well, and I fished the Gulf Coast. So I remember how things were up there, and you know, I'd have them send me pictures of the spider weights or what kind of weights they were using, and you know, I just dug and dug and dug and dug because I needed to know this. You know, it was something that I was really in my net. At the end of the day, I'm going to spend $300 on a reel. I need to know what the life of that reel is going to do, because for one thing, all the other reels that I've been fishing with, I've already had for over 10 years, you know? So they had big shoes to fill and very little time to prove it. And the reason it was very little time is because obviously I'm not going to keep spending that kind of money on a reel if it couldn't prove itself immediately that it was better than what I was already using. I'm going to talk about the tackle industry rod, and obviously y'all have already seen the video of me putting this rod through the ringer on a ton of fish. Kings, jacks, bull reds, shark, black drum in the bays, I mean, and casting big weights, doing what I need to do. And then I'll even go try to, you know, fall off my truck by trying to lift a 50-pound bucket. And it's still here. And the reason for it is because of this. I mean, or it's very light in my hands, which is a good thing, because when you start fishing these tournaments and you're out there casting and casting and casting, you get to the point of like, man, this, you know, the rods are heavy if you have those heavier set rods. So what you do is you set up the rod and reel to be one of the types that, are you going to be fishing with it all the time? Or are you just going to cast it, leave it, and, you know, wait for the big fish to come and hit it? There's different things that you need to ask on how you're going to fish a rod and reel before you even decide which rod and reel you want to go with. I mean, what are you really going to do with it on the back end? So for me, this one is one that I've thrown lures with. I've thrown live bait, dead bait on the bottom. I've floated, slide line, kayak, and all of that, because it's the most versatile rod and reel combo that I have within the collection. But at the same time too, I'm not going to stop trying something new just because. I mean, now if it's already in somewhere. So on that note too, this rod is one of my first 552 Harringtons that I had purchased back in 2002. And this is actually a set of twins, and the other one is Actually, one of them that you saw I broke. I reversed into a handrail when I was making a delivery and trying to get to fishing. I was in a hurry, not paying attention, and that was my bad. But at the same time too, you see that I've thrown an SX Raptor on it as well. Well, that's because it has been one of our reels that we can sit there and add into the collection, knowing that one, we're not going to be having to fix it every year. Two, it's giving me the line capacity that I'm still looking for. Granted, we moved completely away from monofilament and we're using nothing but straight braid, hollow core braid at that. But three, when I fight a fish, I can get it in quickly for several reasons. One, I tournament fish that's 90% or 99% of the time, it's all catch and release only. There's a very rare occasion where we have one that you've got to retain, you know, the fish category, but at the same time too, they also limit you that it has to be a slot sized fish, which I'm okay with that because it's a slot size, but I'm not okay with killing, you know, a whole bunch of big ones and stuff like that. Now granted, decades ago when I did win a tournament, it was with an oversized red, but it's one fish that we kept through the whole tournament besides the shark, you know, it's shark and redfish category. Granted, that tournament is no longer around, but it's stuff that is in my past, and I can say, hey, I did that at least once, you know. But at the same time, that's not a reel I'm gonna sit there and be throwing lures with, because it's so heavy in comparison to the other rod and reel combo. So again, that answers my question. What am I gonna be doing with it? That rod, I'm gonna cast, and I'm gonna let it set with the big bait. Bull reds, big black drum, and even shark I've caught on that rod and reel combo. If I'm gonna be fishing in areas where I need to be able to launch without having to get in the water, I'll go with a little bit longer rod. Now, don't get me wrong, that 9-foot rod has a beast of a cast, but there are times when I know I'm gonna be in areas where I'm gonna be beating up the gear. I tend to go with the heavier rod, just because the guides are overly built. It's not gonna, you know, bump up against another rod and an eyelet get popped out or something like that. These are a little more heavy duty built. So when you're choosing a rod and reel combo, you gotta ask yourself those simple questions. How do you intend on fishing with it? Where do you intend on fishing with it? And what do you expect out of it? I mean, these are three simple questions you need to ask yourself. And for me, when I chose to go with an SX Raptor on these two combos, it's for those reasons. Now, when I go fishing, then I ask myself again, what am I gonna do when I'm out there? How am I gonna fish that rod if I take it? You know, it's every time I go out, these are questions. I mean, I sit there and I'll look at my combinations and be like, okay, I need this and I need this one and I need this. Keeping those questions in mind when you're choosing your gear will also help you buy gear that's gonna be good for you. Like I said, there's a lot of knowledge I put out there, but not all of it's gonna be pertaining to you. Like people ask me, what size of weight do you cast? Well, I throw 8s and 10s and sometimes 12s, but that's me. With you, it may be a 5 or a 6 ounce, and that may be your perfect combination. Good. Throw what works for you. So again, guys, that was just a quick little down and dirty for me with the Avets. And the other reason why I choose to go with Raptors versus the G2 series or the single speed series is because that low gear allows me to fight fish quickly. I want to bring them in as quickly as I can, so that way, since I'm intending on releasing, I can get on to the next fish. But at the same time too, I am in a business to prove my leaders over and over and over again. So I need to be able to say, you know what, I caught 50 fish on this leader just today alone. You know, not bad for a $6 leader, but at the same time, I caught over, you know, 200 to 300 pounds of fish on one leader, which is great. You want to match the gear you're using to the tackle you're using as well. So it's not just rod and reel combos, it's the leaders you're going to be using as well. One of the main reasons why I like to use the SX Raptors instead of the other series is because the overly built bearings and drag washers. I'm overly abusive on my gear. For the many of you that have walked into my shop and I've handed you one of my rod and reel combos, you see all the sand on them, you see all the water, dried up water stains, I mean just everything on them. And that's because, like I said, I'm still in that mode of putting it against what I have known before. And those reels, they worked wonders. You know, the pins, the Shimano's Ambassador, Lure reels, the Newells as well. I mean, these were all the reels that I grew up with and I fished with for a very long time. But these are the ones I'm with now, and that's the reason why, is because I've seen what they have done. I've given them the shot to see what they can do to improve my fishing career. Now I'm sharing that knowledge with everybody who's watching my channel, just because, like I said, it works for me. It may be something that works for you, or maybe you might be out there when we're there. Let me know, hey, you know, how well do they work? A lot of times, I hand you the rod, and if you want to cast it, cast it. If you want to fight in a fish, you pull in a fish. That way it gives you a first-hand knowledge of what they can do before you actually buy one, which is great. And then you can see the abuse that they go through on a day-to-day basis when I am out there fishing. So again, guys, this is Team Hard Life Captain Albert Zertucci on why I chose to go with the SX Raptors. In this video, I'm going to be doing the MXL, the LXs, and the HXW coming up very soon.